Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are going to tackle one of the biggest, most debated topics in the entire React ecosystem, state management. We're going to break down everything, from the core engine that makes React tick, all the way to the libraries that help us tame it.
This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Context, Redux, Zustand, Jotai. Picking the right tool for the job is one of the most critical decisions you can make as a React developer. And today, we're going to dig in and find the answer.
But here's the secret. The key to choosing the right library, well, it isn't actually about the library itself. It's about understanding the engine that powers all of them. And that means we have to explore the sometimes strange, often misunderstood world of React hooks.
All right, let's dive right into the peculiar world of hooks. See, to really get a handle on state management, we first have to figure out why these tools, the very things designed to make our lives easier, can sometimes lead to such, well, baffling behavior.
And look, if you've ever been confused by hooks, you are not alone. As this research paper points out, the whole rendering process is, and I quote, opaque. It's like a black box. Even really experienced developers can get tripped up because it's just not obvious what React is doing under the hood.
So what's a classic trap? This right here. You call a state setter function directly in the body of your component. What happens? Well, you create this vicious cycle. The setter triggers a re-render, which then calls the setter again, which triggers another re-render. React gets stuck in this infinite loop before it can even paint a single thing to the screen. To actually see this happening, researchers built an incredible tool called React Trace. And what it does is it peels back the curtain, visualizing every single step of the render process. All of a sudden, those hidden infinite cycles become totally visible. It turns React's opaque behavior into something we can finally see and understand.
And then, of course, there are the famous rules of React. You've heard this one. Don't call hooks inside conditions or loops. But why? Well, it's because React doesn't actually identify your hooks by their name. No, it identifies them by the order in which you call them. If you change that order, you break the chain and your whole component just falls apart.
So, now that we've seen the problems, let's use what we've learned from that research to finally get how React really thinks. Seriously, this is the part where it all starts to click. You see, every single component goes through this render loop. First, there's the step init, the very first time it's called. Then, after it renders, it runs any side effects you've queued up. And finally, it does a step check to see if a state update has been requested, which, you guessed it, might kick off the whole process all over again.
So how in the world does useState just magically remember its value between renders? Well, the secret is, it's not really one function. It's kind of two. During that first init phase, it takes the value you give it and stores it. But in every subsequent phase after that, it just retrieves the value that React is already holding onto internally. Pretty clever, right?
So what this all boils down to is that React is just constantly making these little internal decisions. Calling a state setter triggers a check decision, telling React to re-render. Using useEffect triggers an effect decision, telling it to run some code after the render. And that infinite loop we saw earlier, that was just React getting stuck in an endless cycle of check decisions, never making it to the finish line.
Okay, deep breath. Now that we finally understand the engine, we can talk about the libraries. Because at their core, all these different state management solutions are really just different strategies for controlling that render cycle we just talked about.
So, first up, let's talk about the one that's built right into React, the Context API. It's fantastic for simple, slowly changing state. You know, things like a theme switcher or user authentication. Basically, anytime you just need to pass data deep down into your component tree without prop drilling.
Now, the number one biggest mistake people make with context is creating one giant provider for everything. Any tiny little update to that context will force every single component that uses it to re-render. The much better way is to split your context by domain. One for the user, one for the theme, one for the cart. That separation is way more performant.
Next up, the heavyweight champion, Redux. Specifically, Redux with Redux Toolkit. Look, for massive, complex enterprise apps, nothing meets its strict structure. You get powerful dev tools, a huge middleware ecosystem. It just gives you a ton of predictability and control at scale.
And please, if you're still writing out action constants and giant switch statements by hand, you're living in the past. Modern Redux uses create slice from the toolkit. It gets rid of all that boilerplate by automatically generating your actions and reducers for you. It's a game changer.
Now, let's talk about Zustand. This library has become super popular, and for good reason. It really hits that sweet spot.
You get all the power of a centralized store like you do with Redux, but with a much simpler hook-based API and almost zero boilerplate.
And hey, sound familiar? Just like with context, the key to performance here is to avoid that one giant monolithic store. The best practice is to create separate, domain-specific stores for different parts of your application. One for auth, one for your shopping cart, another for products.
And finally, we have Jotai, which takes a completely different path. It thinks of state not as a big object, but as these tiny, independent pieces called atoms. This approach is incredibly powerful for things like really complex forms where you have a bunch of different fields that all depend on each other.
But Jotai's real magic comes from something called derived atoms. Instead of manually trying to keep your validation state in sync, you just create atoms that automatically compute their own value based on other atoms. This guarantees that only the components that absolutely have to re-render will. It's like having surgical precision over your updates.
Okay, so with all those patterns in mind, how do these libraries actually stack up against each other, head to head? Let's get practical and look at the data. This is what's going to help us build our decision framework.
The numbers here tell a really interesting story. Now I want you to look closely at that row for frequent update time. See that? Jotai and Zustand are significantly faster. That makes them amazing for highly interactive UIs. On the flip side, context has zero impact on your bundle size because, hey, it's already built in, while Redux definitely has the largest footprint.
So the main takeaway here is pretty clear. This isn't about finding the one single best library to rule them all. It's about understanding the trade-offs and choosing the absolute right tool for the job you have in front of you.
By really understanding how React's render cycle works, you can move beyond just picking a library because it's popular or what you've used before. You can now make a real architectural decision that is perfectly suited to your app's specific needs. So the final question isn't which library is the best, it's which tool is going to be the scalpel for my particular problem.